Alright, now it's time for another unpopular opinions video. Now I only do unpopular opinion videos when I have too many video ideas in my head and I can't decide which idea to actually focus on, so I just do all of them in the form of an unpopular opinions video. Now for this unpopular opinions video, I will be mentioning shows from Disney Channel and Nickelodeon as usual, but I will also be mentioning shows from Cartoon Network. Okay, so anyways, without further ado, let's get started. My first unpopular opinion is that Amy Duncan is the best Disney Channel mom of all time, and that's mainly because she was the most prominent Disney mother. Like a lot of Disney shows and Nickelodeon shows, they have all of the focus be on the kids and then the parents are just like afterthoughts. But with Amy Duncan, she was actually like the number 2 character. Like you had the main character, Teddy Duncan, and then the secondary character, like the number 2 character is Amy Duncan, the mom. And I'm pretty sure she was the most entertaining person on that show. Like don't get me wrong, everybody on that show was very entertaining, but Amy stole the show. My next unpopular opinion is about the Powerpuff Girls. Blossom has always been my favorite Powerpuff Girl. Like even though I know Bubbles is as sweet as can be, and Buttercup was a relatable queen, I've always loved Blossom the most. Also, while I'm still on the show, I saw online like people were asking, is Buttercup a boy? And I'm like, they're called the Powerpuff Girls. Why would... Moving on. I love Total Drama, but the show just isn't the same after the 3rd season. I didn't really like Revenge of the Island or Pacatown Island except for a few characters like Sugar, Come Through Pageant Queen, but I did really like Total Drama All-Stars and The Redonkulous Race, although I didn't really care for the Total Drama Rama spin-off series where they're all toddlers. I prefer the characters as teenagers. Now I know a lot of people don't like Dog with the Blog, but it has always been a guilty pleasure of mine. I love the weird style of humor, and I think the parents on the show are definitely the most bizarre parents I've ever seen on Disney Channel, but bizarre in a good way. And also, the kids on this show, especially the girls, they're very good actors. Now whenever people talk about Disney stars from back in the day, I realize that some of them were older than the characters they played, like the Jonas Brothers were older, Jason Earls from Hannah Montana was older. However, a lot of Disney and Nickelodeon stars were actually the same age as the characters they played, or at least pretty darn close to the same age. Now I know Disney and Nickelodeon are like sworn enemies, they're always like competing against each other, but imagine how cool it would be if a Disney Channel show and a Nickelodeon show had a crossover. Now what shows would I pick to be in this crossover? I don't have the heart to choose, but you guys can decide in the comments down below. Okay, now Hannah Montana Forever, although it did a nice job at wrapping things up, this entire season continues to baffle me because Hannah Montana was basically the vehicle to launch Miley Cyrus's career, and during the first season of the show, everything was about Hannah, that's who everybody wanted to see. Then during season 2, Miley started to become just as famous as Hannah. Then during season 3, Miley started to become bigger than Hannah Montana, and the show finally succeeded in what it tried to do, which was launch Miley's career. And then by the time Hannah Montana Forever came around, Miley had already made a name for herself. This was after Party in the U.S.A., which we all know is a mega hit. This was after The Last Song, which I just watched this past weekend and it was sad. Anyways, Miley going back and putting on the wig for Hannah Montana Forever kind of felt redundant, but Miley didn't want the show to end on a cliffhanger. She wanted it to come to a natural conclusion, so I guess I understand her coming back for Hannah Montana Forever, and I applaud her for that. Now, I've noticed that a lot of Disney and Nickelodeon shows tend to have what I like to call the dolled up episode. This is basically an episode where the sidekick best friend, who is a tomboy, dresses and acts in a more feminine way, usually to attract someone. Now, my prime example with this is iCarly and Hannah Montana. In the 2nd season of both shows, they have the dolled up episode where our tomboys Sam Puckett and Lily Truscott change up their image. Now, there's nothing wrong with changing up your image, but if you're doing it because you think the way you are is wrong, then it's a problem. Also, I know at the end of these episodes it's all about learning to love yourself as you are, but I just would have preferred it if they've never had these episodes in the first place. Think of what message it sends to all the non-hyper-feminine girls watching these shows. Also, I would like to add that between these 2 episodes, even though I really dislike both of them, I'm way more okay with the iCarly episode than I am with the Hannah Montana episode, because the Hannah Montana episode is just toxic femininity. Also in that episode, Miley was forcing Lily to change her image even though Lily was completely fine with the way she was. Whereas with iCarly, no one told Sam she needed to change. She was the one who was unhappy with herself and wanted to change, and Carly even tried to talk her out of it. That's a good friend right there. Okay, now moving on, I know Selena Gomez may not be the best singer around, but she makes some beautiful music, especially back during her days with The Scene. By the way, Naturally is the best song that band has ever made. Love You Like a Love Song is a close second, then third is A Year Without Rain. Now, does anyone remember Nickelodeon's adult sitcoms like Instant Mom, See Dad Run, and Wendell and Vinny? I thought all these shows were pretty cool. I especially like Instant Mom because the star of the show was Tia Mowry Hardrick, who is one half of the sister-sister duo. I also like Cheryl Lee Ralph. She's a very good actress, she's very funny, and she played Tia's mother on the show. Now, there are two Disney shows that still confuse me to this day, and they are Kim Possible and Hannah Montana. In both shows, the titular characters go around the world fighting crime in Kim's case and performing concerts in Hannah's case. However, they still have to be back in school the next day. Now, with Kim Possible, this does make some sense because Kim could just hitch a ride back home from anyone. But Hannah is on tour. When you're on tour, you can't just pop back home for school the next day. Tours are a full-time commitment. Honestly, Hannah Montana was full of so many plot holes, but I don't care because I still love the show. Now, Andy Mack is a show that I have never seen a full episode of. However, I've seen plenty of clips, and I generally know what the show is about. And I do think it was one of the best Disney shows of the mid-2010s. And, kids need that in their life. Now, I don't think Carly Shay is a boring person. However, I do think Carly is the most boring person on her show. Like Carly by herself, she's nice, she's fine, she's pretty interesting. But if you bring in Sam, or Spencer, or Gibby, then you could clearly tell that she's not as interesting as them. And I know a lot of people like to say Carly Shay, Tori Vega, and Zoe Brooks are like the three boring Nickelodeon main characters. But in my opinion, Carly is much more interesting than those girls because of the iCarly web show. Even though I give the iCarly web show a lot of flack for being cringy and corny, without the iCarly web show, Carly would have no personality, and she would be no different than Tori Vega or Zoe Brooks. Now, my last unpopular opinion for today is I actively avoid watching Jessie more than any other Disney or Nickelodeon show that has ever been made. Like when I'm watching Wizards of Waverly Place on Disney Plus and I see Jessie in my recommended list, I skip it every time. We already know how I feel about the show's stereotypes, but also the fact that Cameron passed away makes the show so much harder for me to watch. He was such a nice, talented guy, and he was just gone too soon. Anyways, that's it for my unpopular opinions video. Please like and subscribe and comment down below, and thank you so much for watching.